What if you could read minds but only of people who are lying to you? Imagine that for a second. You walk into a room. Someone gives you a smile and says, "Hey, how's your day going?" And boom, you instantly know they're lying. Not because you're some psychic superhero, but because you've got this superpower that lets you hear their thoughts. The only catch? It only works when they're not being truthful. No peeking into their deepest, darkest secrets or getting a glimpse of their embarrassing high school crush. Nope. It's all about lies. You'd be like a human lie detector, but way cooler. So how does this change your life? Let's dive into it. First of all, the immediate effect on your relationships is huge. Think about it. Every time someone tells you, "I'm fine," you'd hear, "I'm absolutely not fine, I just don't want to talk about it." Or your friend says, "I'm just running a little late." And in their mind it's, "I'm 45 minutes behind schedule and my car won't start, but I'm too embarrassed to admit it." At first, it might feel like a superpower straight out of a comic book. You'll know when someone's lying to you before they even finish their sentence. It's like having a built-in BS detector. You'd always know when someone's pulling a fast one, whether it's a harmless white lie or something a little more devious. You could spot the difference between someone saying, "I forgot," and actually thinking, "I didn't want to do it in the first place," which might save you a ton of headaches, but let's not get too excited just yet. On the flip side, there's going to be a lot of tension. Imagine hearing someone's, "I didn't mean to hurt your feelings," and then hearing their mind scream, "I really don't care that much, I just don't want to fight." Ouch. That's a lot of emotional weight to carry around. You'll quickly realize how often people tell themselves and others little lies to avoid conflict or discomfort. And you'll be constantly reminded that what people say doesn't always match up with what they feel. That's a lot of noise in your head. Truths you didn't necessarily want to know. Sure, you'll catch the liar in the act, but that doesn't always mean you'll want to confront them. What happens when you know your boss is telling you one thing while their mind is filled with, "This project is going to fail, and I'm not taking the blame"? It would be tempting to use your mind-reading ability as a power play, but you might start second-guessing when to use it and when to just let it go. You can hear the lies, but can you always handle the truth behind them? Let's talk about the ripple effects this could have on your personal life. Think about dating for a second. You're on a first date and someone asks, "So what's your favorite thing to do on the weekends?" They're expecting you to say something normal like hiking or catching up on Netflix. But what if you hear their thoughts screaming, "I actually just sit on my couch all weekend binge-watching reality TV and pretending I'm not secretly ashamed of it"? In a way, that could be a blessing because you can get the real answers right away. No more guessing, no more playing games. But it also makes things complicated. How often do you tell little fibs when you're trying to impress someone? Now with this power, you'd be able to see past all the superficial, "I love dogs" declarations when their mind says, "I'm allergic to dogs and I hate them." Do you call them out on it? Or do you play along, letting them maintain their facade? It might be tempting to confront every little lie, but that could get exhausting fast. And what about friendships? If you're always able to catch a friend in a lie, it could either strengthen your bond or completely ruin it. If your friend tells you they're going to a party, but their mind is screaming, "I'm just avoiding my responsibilities and lying so I don't have to help you move," how do you respond? Do you call them out on it or let them off the hook? Imagine if every time you asked a friend for a favor, you could hear their mind saying, "I'm doing this because I don't want to deal with the guilt, but I'd rather be anywhere else." Would it hurt your feelings? Or would it just make you more empathetic, realizing that sometimes people are just struggling with their own guilt, shame, or insecurities? It's definitely a double-edged sword. On one hand, you get crystal clear honesty. On the other, you might start feeling like you're living in a world of constant tension, where everyone's hiding something, and you can hear all of it. Now let's zoom out a little. What about the bigger picture, society as a whole? In a world where everyone knows when they're being lied to, what happens to politics? What happens to advertising, sales pitches, and social media influencers? Suddenly, the politicians who tell you one thing but think another can't get away with it anymore. Campaign promises are exposed for what they really are. Half-baked, self-serving thoughts wrapped in shiny packaging. Corporate executives who claim to be committed to sustainability while their minds scream, "I'm just looking for a tax break," will no longer be able to hide. The world could either become a much more honest place, or it could become a much more awkward place, where everyone's playing a weird game of mental chess, trying to outmaneuver each other without giving away too much. It would be like living in a world where everyone is constantly aware that they're on a hidden camera show, except the cameras are in their heads, and no one can ever turn them off. On a more personal level, what about lying to yourself? The funny thing about lies is that we tell them for all sorts of reasons, not just to others but to ourselves. How many times have you convinced yourself that something is fine when it really isn't? That you're not upset when you clearly are, or that you're happy with a decision when deep down you're filled with regret? Now imagine you have access to the internal monologue that says, "I'm fine," while your heart is screaming, "I'm falling apart." Suddenly, your ability to read minds isn't just about catching others. It's about understanding yourself on a level that might be a little too intense for comfort. Are you ready for that? So, if you could read minds but only when people were lying to you, would it be a superpower or a curse? On one hand, it's incredibly tempting to always know when someone is being dishonest. You'd never have to deal with the frustration of being misled. But on the other, you'd be bombarded by the messy, complicated thoughts of everyone around you. The things they don't want you to know, the secrets they're hiding. It's a tricky balance between being all-knowing and constantly overwhelmed by the noise of human deception. The question is, would you embrace this power? Or would you eventually wish you could turn it off? Because let's face it, even with the truth laid bare, sometimes ignorance is bliss. So what do you think? Could you handle being the ultimate truth detector? Or would you prefer to live in a world where lies were just a little harder to spot? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on this. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and don't lie too much. Because someone out there might be able to hear what you're really thinking.